Good evening, everybody, and happy Wednesday here, one day before Christmas Eve. I am Bobby Knapp, and I am bringing you a very special, very fun filled episode of my podcast, Big Hurt Knapp Sports. I am going to be highlighting and analyzing the 2020 2021 NBA season, and we're going to start by going through what each team did this past off season and how they're pretty much looking now. As you see my big board right here, if you can see in the video, you should be able to at least. But if not, I will be going through all of it. And of course, my World Series champion, Chicago White Sox flag here. Gotta have that always. That's just what's always needed, of course. For the extra vibe and fun. But yeah, I think this is a bizarre season, right? I mean, this is very different circumstances. We've only had 71 days in between the Lakers winning the finals in the bubble in Orlando, Florida, to starting the season up. And we saw two games last night get played. We saw the Brooklyn Nets and Golden State Warriors. We saw the return of Kevin Durant. We saw and it was quite a non-competitive game. It was pretty much over in the first half. There was a 20-point lead in the first quarter for Brooklyn, and the Warriors just never were able to really do anything that much or look back. It's a pretty miserable game, to say the least. But as a diehard and sports analyst and podcaster, I'll always be watching as much as I can, and I pretty much get a good glimpse to see exactly what I need to see and know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it with all you good folks that listen. But then the second game, we had the Battle of the LA. We had the Lakers and the Clippers. Those are your 1 and 2 seeds last year, and that's what we're possibly looking at as well this year. Didn't always feel like a 1 and 2 seed punch, though, with how things went down for the Clippers in the playoffs in Orlando. But this is a new season, and this is a new regime here with Tyronn Lue head coach. The Lakers pretty much have most of their team coming back. There's a few changes, but we'll get into that as we touch on those teams. As I go throughout, I'm going to be going all through 30 teams, pretty much alphabetical order is the easiest way for me to do this, just so preventing confusion as well. But just go by with me. I even did records in. We have a 72-game season this year, not an 82. So that's just about a 10-game difference. But I think for a lot of folks, that actually might be a welcome sign. There's a lot of fans that get exhausted with longer seasons. I personally don't. I really enjoy the longer seasons because more games to watch, more teams to see, more action going on, especially the baseball season. 162 games. Look at how quick 60 games went. That's the best example that I can say. 60 games in just about 2 months were gone, and baseball's over like that. Obviously, COVID prevented the season from going full, but 162 games does not really take as gruesome, and for players, it's a completely different scenario because they're the ones that are out there every single day. They're the ones that are traveling, and they're the ones that have to stay in tip-top shape to be able to execute and play very well. But the games go quick, so anytime there's a new season, I'm just ready to go, and it's hard to see it end, especially like NFL's only 16 games. We didn't even have a preseason this year, so we just went right into the regular season. Hockey, I will be doing a hockey preview after basketball. After this episode, I will be doing a team-by-team NHL analysis and predictions for the upcoming season. It's only going to be a 56-game season. That starts in mid-January and will go through about July. I believe the last day of the Stanley Cup playoffs is in July. I think the 7th or 8th. I'll have to triple check that. It just got announced earlier today. But follow me on Instagram and Twitter, Big Hurt Knapp 35. That is BIGHURT, after my buddy and my all-time favorite and hero, Frank Thomas. Big Hurt Knapp, KNAPP 35. That is at Big Hurt Knapp 35, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Bobby Knapp, and my YouTube as well, Robert Knapp. I will advertise that all over the place, and hopefully you and your friends and family do as well. So let's get right down to it. Let's start in the Eastern Conference, and let's start with the Atlanta Hawks. That's right, the Atlanta Hawks, starting off my podcast. Usually that would not be the case for most analysts or most sports people, but you know what? This is a fun team to talk about, and I think that we are going to see a good season this year from this team. And I will, like I said, I'll get to the board. If I make some references to it in the video, just go follow through. I'm not going to try to throw everybody off. I will go through the board will be the last scenario. I even have a second board for playoff bracket, playoff seating. I did all that as well, but this is the main. This is and then awards down here as well. So we'll have most valuable player, defensive player of the year. I'll get all that. But the Atlanta Hawks. Why do I think they're going to improve? Well, here's why. For their draft, they drafted Onyekwe Onkogwu. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. To him, 6th overall that was, and Skylar Mays with the 50th overall. And that was some excitement. Anytime you have a top 4 or 5 pick in the NBA, this was 6th, but it still can be a pretty good player, an exciting player to go by as well for them. But let's talk about who they added. Okay, Danilo Gallinari from the Oklahoma City Thunder, Rajon Rondo from the Lakers, Chris Dunn from the Bulls, Solomon Hill from the Miami Heat. They added some defense. They added some gritty players that have a lot to play for. They are very edgy, and they're trying to get a better contract. So Chris Dunn took the 1-year deal. Danilo Gallinari, though, big time shooter. The question is always health with him. We know what he can do on the court. He's a perfect forward. He's a perfect complement to a star or a superstar. Big guy, and a true veteran. And this is something that the Atlanta Hawks have been lacking. They need some players that are able to help them take the next leap and help them take the next jump. And I think this is a perfect sign for them to get going. It's a perfect opportunity for them to grow, and I'm excited to see what they can do. I mean, you look at their starting 5 now, and we're looking at Trae Young, the emergence of him after his rookie season at point guard. We got John Collins there, the star at power forward. Clint Capella, the longtime Houston Rocket at center, blocks, defense galore. Bogdan Bogdanovic was supposed to go to the Milwaukee Bucks. It fell through with the trade. Another guard and forward right there who can just do everything. And Kevin Huerter. That's your starting 5. I mean, that's really good for the Hawks. And your reserves, your bench, those 3 that I just touched on in free agency, you got them coming off the bench. And Rondo, Gallinari, and Dunn, and then DeAndre Hunter and Cam Reddish. Just really impressive. I mean, if you're a Hawks fan, you got to be happy. At least I would be. I would just be extremely, extremely happy with what's going on with them. So I think that a lot of people should be looking at them and saying, hey, watch out for these guys. But the next team, let's go to the Boston Celtics. Brad Stevens and company had a good season as usual. The last few years, we keep seeing the emergence of star Jason Tatum. Gordon Hayward is not there anymore. I don't think that's going to really be a big drawback for them, though. Let's say he's a great player when he's healthy, but he's really never healthy. He already got a small injury now with the Hornets, his new team. We'll get on them a little bit, but there's just always something with Gordon Hayward, and familiarity and chemistry was a big 1-2 punch with him and Stevens in Boston. But it's not always about chemistry after a while. It's not always about friendship. It's about execution and where you're able to get as the season progresses and the playoffs get going. Another season, the Boston Celtics were eliminated earlier than they wanted to be. But let's talk about what they did here. In the draft, they got Aaron Nesmith, 14th overall. Peyton Pritchard was the 26th overall, and Yam Madar, 47th overall. Their free agency consisted of Tristan Thompson, a longtime center with the Cleveland Cavaliers, Jeff Teague, the journeyman point guard at this point. He is coming over from the Atlanta Hawks. And Taco Fall is coming back to the Boston Celtics, a 2-way contract for him. We know the tallest player in the league. We saw it in the NCAA playoff bracket a little over a year ago. Very exciting player. If he gets to get some minutes, and I think that's what it's all about, is he's going to be able to have minutes to execute and get into this team. And like I said, the loss of Gordon Hayward, but we look at the Boston Celtics here, and you look at their starting 5. Kemba Walker, superstar. Coming off an injury, though, it may be until January before he starts playing for his team. But this is a guy that's able to put up 20 to 25 points a night, 4 to 6 assists, a game, and can even throw in 5 rebounds. Kemba can just do it all. We saw it everywhere he's played, especially Charlotte. But after that, Marcus Smart coming in at shooting guard. Jaylen Brown, small forward. Jason Tatum, another Daniel Theis. Jason Tatum, that's the pulse of the Boston Celtics. This is the player, not even Kemba Walker. It's all about Jason Tatum and what he's able to do. Can he elevate this team even further? This is a 20. This is the same type of big score, mixed stats with rebounds and assists, defense. Just this is somebody that really, really is needed if you're a Boston Celtics fan and front office member to see your team take the next step and get to a championship. And your bench, Sammy Ojeleye, Jeff Teague, Tristan Thompson, and Grant Williams. Pretty impressive group right there. They'll be just fine, I believe, in the East. And moving on, though, we got the Brooklyn Nets, and a lot of talks going on with our Brooklyn Nets. Last year it was about Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Were they going to sign with the Nets, or were they going to go to the New York Knicks? Were they going to turn a long time ago powerhouse back into a current powerhouse? It just didn't happen. Kyrie and KD felt better over in Brooklyn, a little bit smaller New York market. They felt the opportunity there was a lot better for them. And I personally, I agree. I think that they have more in Brooklyn for them to succeed. They have a lot more going for them. And these are two players that are still in the midst of their prime. But, we look at what they did and how they are looking on the starting and bench here. Kyrie Irving, point guard, Karis LeVert, Joe Harris, Kevin Durant, DeAndre Jordan. You can play Durant at small forward. You can play him at power forward. DeAndre Jordan will be your center. He will split, though, with Jared Allen. Jared Allen stepped up last season, 11.1 points per game, 9.6 rebounds, 1.3 blocks. These are averages that he's able to keep up and actually maybe even grow on more if he has the time to play. DeAndre Jordan, we know he can't shoot free throws. We know when he's in a lineup, he will be at the free throw line. So if he is able to shoot 57, 58%, usually he's at 50 or just a tad above that. If he can get in the 60s as a free throw shooter, that's a little bit better and more what the team would ask of him to be able to do. But when you're throwing out Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, guys that can just shoot any place on the court, can execute any play, superstar all over both of them, clutch and everything. Karis LeVert and Joe Harris. We saw Joe Harris was one of the league leaders in three-point shots made and even attempted a season ago. I mean, this is a player that's constantly growing. And Karis LeVert, this could be your sixth man of the year in the Eastern Conference. 14.5 points per game from Harris. LeVert had 18.7. You're talking about three potential 20-point to 25-point scorers a night in the same starting lineup. We haven't even talked about the bench. So if you're Brooklyn, that's just phenomenal. And KD, in his first game back, if anybody saw last, he looked like himself. He wasn't all the way 100%, but that's going to take some time. If anything's related to a leg or a knee, a meniscus, ACL, it's going to take time just for the rehab and for that player to get comfortable again and believing what they can do. But the bench, Jared Allen, the center, Spencer Dinwiddie, another guard, Jeff Green, Landry Shamet. I mean, where can you go wrong on that team? Who are you going to be able to find to disrupt them if everybody's healthy? And that's always what it comes down to. But if you're a Brooklyn Nets fan and that front office, I'm pretty much looking at a potential NBA Finals matchup there. But let's move on here. Let's go over to the Charlotte Hornets now, why don't we? And the talk about the Hornets is LaMelo Ball, another Ball brother coming over to the NBA, third overall pick. Vernon Carey was the 32nd overall. Nick Richards, 42. Grant Riller, 56. Nate Darling, under. A lot of draft picks. That's what happens when you have some unprotected picks. You're just scrapping up guys to fulfill your roster. When you're a young team and you're rebuilding, you're looking for some extra help. You're looking to see what players can do and young guys, minutes for them to see exactly if they fit into your plans long term or not. But they're starting five. Devontae Graham, he really broke out last year. 18.2 points a game, 3.4 rebounds a game, and 7.5 assists. Really a player that's just scratching the surface. This is somebody that can grow and thrive, and LaMelo Ball and him should be great complements to one another. Even depending on who starts or who comes off the bench, I really do believe that Graham should be getting more minutes, at least in the beginning of the season, a significant chunk of it over LaMelo. But Terry Rozier, shooting guard there. We know Terry's a good defender. He's a slick player. He's able to get on the court all the time and just create havoc. 18 points a game, 4.4 rebounds, 4.1 assists. Cody Zeller at center, PJ Washington power forward, and Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward at small forward. So, and you can technically rotate Gordon Hayward too around, but that's your backcourt. Gordon Hayward's going to be a backcourt player. You want him to be a backcourt player because of his shooting ability. I mean, if he's healthy, can he hit 20 points a game on average? Absolutely. 6 to 7 rebounds a game, 4 to 5 assists, totally. But this team is not about LaMelo Ball. It's about Gordon Hayward and what he's able to bring to them. And if he's able to stay on the court and build those relationships with the rest of the players, this is a young team, like I keep saying, that's always a benefit. It's a benefit to have a young group that is able to thrive off one another and watch them play together, and that's what the Hornets are looking for. And their bench, of course, I said Ball, Miles Bridges, Bismarck Biyombo, and Malik Monk. We've seen Bismack Biyombo. We've seen him have some good games here and there. We saw him with the Magic. We've seen him, saw him with the Raptors. This is a player that, how much better can he get at this point? Miles Bridges is another name, just a compliment player, not even that big of a compliment player, just somebody that's really there. Moving on, though, let's get to my Chicago Bulls. Let's look at where the Bulls were 6 months ago, and let's look at where they were at the end of the season when the shutdown just happened, the pandemic. Jim Boylen, and I thought Fred Hoiberg was terrible, okay? I never agreed with Fred Hoiberg becoming head coach of the Bulls. He was handpicked by the front office. They had no interview process. He had no competition. He knew he was coming in from the Timberwolves front office or college, and he knew that the job was his. He didn't do anything with this team. And I say that boldly. I say it confidently. I don't want to hear that he never had his team. I never want to hear that he didn't have... You make it work as a head coach. You inherit a team, you make it work. He had Dwayne Wade. He had Derrick Rose. He had Rajon Rondo. He had Pau Gasol. Had enough players to be competitive. Had enough under his belt to be a better than 41-41 team. We were lucky to hit 500 with Fred Hoiberg the first 2 years when he was here. So, and all he wanted to do was shoot three-pointers. I get it. It was 2 or 3, 4 years ago, that's what the league was starting to become. Now, if you can't shoot a three-pointer, you really have no place for anybody's roster, okay? Very, very few players are able to get into a lineup if they're not able to shoot a three. But you can't, if you're Hoiberg, you can't not do well in your aspect. What your bread and butter is as a head coach is offense. The offense was not that good under him. The defense was horrible under him. One of the worst defenses the Bulls have had statistically. Just look it up. Just look up the Fred Hoiberg era, the few seasons that he was here, and check out their defenses, check out their offenses, and check out their winning percentage. Was not good. He did not need to be here. He went right back to college where he belongs. But his counterpart, his guy that took over, Jim Boylen, was just as bad. I mean, another guy that just came in, ego, all about, you're going to listen to me, wasn't for the players, wasn't for anybody but himself, and was just a front office puppet. That's what Tom Thibodeau wasn't, and that's what the Bulls have been missing to this day. They've been missing a real, damn good basketball coach, somebody that pushes his players. Yes, some days they hate him, but I'll tell you what, when you're winning games, and they were winning a lot of them in the Thibodeau era, your players will listen. Your players will deal with whatever they're going through because you'll heal in the offseason. You'll get better in the offseason for the months that you got off. But when you're on the court with Tom Thibodeau, you are going to be a competitive team. You're going to be a top 3, top 5 team in your conference, guaranteed almost every single season with him. So the Bulls, and with Derrick Rose, without him getting hurt and the trouble that happened there, I bet you I'm talking about at least 1 or 2 Bulls trophy holdups, championship displays. We're talking about at least 1 or 2 banners more hanging from the United Center after the 90s team. After all the Bulls dynasty, the 6 championships in the 90s. We are talking about a new era of Bulls basketball to be reckoned with. But to go in, Jim Boylen is no longer the head coach. Billy Donovan is here. I am ecstatic about Billy Donovan and what he brings to this team. The youth that the Bulls have, they are a top three, actually the first overall youngest starting lineup in the entire league. And that says a lot if you're looking at Billy Donovan. And everybody's wondering, why did he leave the Oklahoma City Thunder? He didn't want to rebuild. No, he didn't want to rebuild. The Thunder were picked to be one of the worst teams last year. They were a top 5 team in the Western Conference. Just think about that for a second. They were picked to be bottom 2, bottom 3. They finished top 5. We're talking about the West. We're talking about the Rockets. We're talking about, do I have to say that Lakers, Clippers, Trailblazers, all these teams that I can just, Utah. I mean, the Thunder weren't supposed to do anything, and they were that good. And that's a big part of Billy Donovan and his coaching. Everywhere this man has gone, the teams have won. They have been good. That's exactly what the Bulls need. He is rejuvenated to get the Chicago brand of basketball back to being elite, back to being a national treasure that everybody knows the Chicago Bulls to be. We saw some breakout performances from their youth last year. Kobe White, point guard. Zach LaVine, shooting guard. Wendell Carter Jr., center. He's got to stay healthy. He's starting to shoot a 3-ball a little bit, but you know what? The rest of the team can shoot. Lauri Markkanen, that's a big player right there too, power forward. Are we going to see Lauri Markkanen get back to what he did his rookie season? Are we going to see the 25 to 30 point a game nights? Are we going to see the 10 to 11 rebounds? Are we going to see the block or two? Are we going to see Lauri be comfortable again and be efficient and be a main rotation piece of this team? Something that he wasn't with Jim Boylen, something that Boylen took away from him and stopped and halted his development. I don't think that's the case. I think Billy's going to look at this team and he's going to have all of them set. Zach LaVine got snubbed of the All-Star game a year ago. It was a joke that he was not in his own home city wearing an All-Star uniform for his own home team. I was at the All-Star game. It was just magical. I was there and saw him at the skills competition in person and at the game. Did not see him in person. He should have been there. And for the fact he wasn't is because the team was losing games. Should not have affected Zach LaVine. This guy is a star. All he needs is defense to become a superstar. A lot of people think he can't do it. I completely disagree. I think he can. 25 points a game, 4.8 rebounds, 4.2 assists. Kobe White, can he take the next step? I believe he can. 13.2 points a game, 3.5 rebounds, and 2.7 assists. That was coming off the bench because Jim Boylen wouldn't start him. That's not going to happen. White will be starting. So the Bulls starting 5. Kobe White, Zach LaVine, Wendell Carter Jr., Lauri Markkanen, Thaddeus Young, unless it's going to be Patrick Williams, the rookie, out of Florida State, the 4 overall pick, who's looked pretty decent in the preseason. Is a gritty player. He's been known to come in toward the end of games. He's really playing a lot at the end of games to close them or finish them out. And then you have Garrett Temple coming over, the forward. You have Thomas Satoransky returning for some guard depth with the Bulls. Ryan Arcidiacono is still there. You know, I believe, are the Bulls going to be the team that Billy wants them to be this year? I don't believe so because this is about building with this team right now, seeing who will be on the roster after the season. And I believe most of these guys that I just named will be. I really do. I think that they will be guys that will be here, and the Bulls will do exactly what they need to this year and see what they got. And Billy Donovan and Arturas Karnavos up in the front office, Arturas and Mark Eversley will make sure this team is going where they need to go, and the Bulls will get back to what they need to be, and that's a winning team. And Shaq Harrison was a loss they had, just a bench rotation piece, but you know what? That tends to happen. That tends to happen when you run out of room for certain players. But I think the Bulls will come up just short, but it's going to be an exciting team. They will get better, and they'll finally have some money for some max free agent or two in the summer. Now that they have some contracts coming off the book, a.k.a. Cristiano Felicio. So let's move on to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Very bad year. No more head coach that they had before. It's now, I believe it's J.B. Bickerstaff. He took over for John Boehlen. That was just a complete fail. Brought him over from Michigan. could not talk to his players, had no respect from the locker room. Nobody wanted to listen to him. They didn't believe in him. Whenever that happens, things are not going to go well. They're not going to go your way. But Cavs have nobody that they have to impress right now. They have nothing but time to improve, to see exactly what they need, and to just overall get better. Are they going anywhere this year? No. Are they going anywhere next year? Probably not. But right now, what this team needs is just patience, and they need to see who's going to be on the team. So, how about draft? Okay, Isaac Okoro, 5th overall pick. They got JaVale McGee from the Los Angeles Lakers, the center. Free agents, they re-signed Matthew Dellavedova, Damian Dotson. They got, but they did lose Tristan Thompson. I think they will miss him because he's a great rebounder, and he was just he was a tough player, and he came out every game and played his ass off. Kevin Love is still there. He's going to be hurt though for the start of the season, from what I've been seeing and from what I've been hearing. But when he comes back, is this his team anymore? It's not his team. Is it Andre Drummond's team? Nope. It's Colin Sexton's team. It is all about what Colin Sexton can do. But tell you what, Andre Drummond is a star. He is a stud. And so is Kevin Love. This team can be something decent upcoming. There's just too many teams ahead of them right now to really make some noise. But they're starting 5. Colin Sexton, point guard. Kevin Porter Jr., Andre Drummond, center. Isaac Okoro, power forward. Kevin Love, where are you going to play Okoro and Love? Are you going to mix those guys around? They can. Larry Nance Jr. coming off the bench. He's a pretty good player. His dad was a really good player. C.D. Osman, Darius Garland. All about minutes for the Cavs. All about what Bickerstaff wants to bring there, what he wants to change from the team that they were a year ago. But you know what? We will wait and see exactly what happens with them going forward. But let's move on. Why don't we? Let's go over to the Dallas Mavericks and what they have done. And we have seen what Luka Doncic, remember that name, because what he did in the league a year ago, he took all of us by notice. Not only the All-Star game, but night in and night out. We really viewed this player as somebody that was pretty much like, he was like LeBron James-esque. He was like Kevin Durant-esque with the attention and everything that he got last year and what he was showing everybody what he can do. And it was extremely impressive. I mean, it was phenomenal to watch him play. It was great for the game of basketball. And let's not forget, Kristaps Porzingis is still there too in Dallas. This is a team that really is intriguing. They're exciting. They are competitive. Mark Cuban, they have an owner that's just desperate to win again, wants another ring. This is a team that could get there. I think they're just short still right now. They need that extra player. They need one more superstar at least to help them get there. But let's talk about their starting 5. Luka Doncic, like I said, 28.8 points a game, 9.4 rebounds, 8.8 assists. That's like Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook's one of the only players in the league that has been able to average close to a triple-double. Luka actually could average a triple-double. I mean, these numbers, he could average 30 points a game also. This could be 30, 10, and 10 if Luka fills out to his full potential. And there's a chance he might be able to, which is just frightening because what he's already done now for a whole season and a half plus is throw everybody's socks off, is knock their shoes right off of their feet on the court. Nobody has any idea how to stop this kid. And Tim Hardaway Jr., he comes over now, 15.8 points a game, 3.3 rebounds, 1.9 assists. Good shooter. We saw what he can do with the Knicks. Everywhere he's been, we know he can come off the bench and thrive off there, but he'll be in the starting rotation now. So Josh Richardson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Kristaps Porzingis will miss some time in the beginning, but head coach Rick Carlisle said we're going to take our approach easy with him. We're going to wait for him to be fully healthy because it's about the marathon, not about the sprint. But Porzingis, 20.4 points a game, 9.5 rebounds, 2.0 blocks a game. Their bench, Dwight Powell, Maxi Kleber, James Johnson. Feel very good about the Mavericks. And Josh Green, their 18th overall draft pick. Tyler Terry, 31st overall. Tyler Bay, 36th. It's just, I mean, you got to. They did lose Seth Curry, but you got to feel good about where they are right now. And longtime fan favorite JJ Barea is not there anymore. But this is a team that's I really believe will be able to overcome that and do what they need to do. Speaking of overcoming and speaking of doing what you need to do above and beyond that, the Denver Nuggets. Okay. What they did, not only in the regular season before the shutdown, but in the bubble in Orlando, this team showed that they are as big a threat to the Lakers and Clippers as anybody. I know they lost to the Lakers in the bubble. I know that they were just short of their goal, like every team's goal to win a championship. But it only takes another player or two to win. And that player or two is Michael Porter Jr. If Michael Porter Jr. comes back and he is able to get significant minutes, take the strides needed that he gets inserted into this team starting five and doesn't miss time or doesn't come off the bench, this team is going to be very capable of being able to win or be a top two, especially maybe, a top three, I think is safer to say, but a top two in the West if all these guys pan out. You potentially have the best player, in the conversation. Let's just be respectful and throw him in the conversation. Nikola Jokic, the center, the Joker. We have to throw in that he is possibly the best player in the league. I don't believe it. Yeah, we know LeBron. We know KD, all right? It's not, just hear me out with it, though. He is at least in the conversation of saying, like a James Harden, perfect type of scenario. James Harden, Nikola Jokic, they deserve to be in the conversation for what they do night in and night out for their team. And I think that most would agree. At least I would hope, because if you don't see what Jokic does, you're not really watching what the Nuggets are about and what they can do. But it's not only him, it's also about Murray. You got Jamal Murray at point guards, 18.5 points a game, 4 rebounds, 4.8 assists. Gary Harris, shooting guard, Michael Porter, Paul Millsap, Nikola Jokic, the bench, Will Barton, Monte Morris, JaMychal Green. And I mean, among others, where can you go wrong on this team? Where's their weakness? Health. Health is their weakness. And that's usually the case for most teams. But outside of health, if everybody's healthy and everybody's playing minutes, this coaching staff has the easiest job, I think, in the NBA. It's just all about placing these guys out there, letting them do their thing, and letting them win all the games possible. And Jokic, 19.9 points a game, 9.7 rebounds, 7.0 assists. It just doesn't get much better than that. It really doesn't, and those numbers can get better. Those numbers can grow, and they can get even better. Their draft was Zakai Naji, 22nd overall, and RJ Hampton, 24th overall. And they did lose Mason Plumlee, but when you have everybody else and you have those other players, I really do believe they'll be just fine. They really won't worry too much about who they lost compared to who they have brought in. Let's shape over to the Detroit Pistons next. And where do they stand? They don't stand very well in the East. They brought in Dwayne Casey. They brought in Derrick Rose a year ago. It was a bad season. They didn't have Blake Griffin. He got hurt. This team just was not good, though. They were losing games left and right. Very uncompetitive. Had very little will or motivation to execute. And that really showed. But they're starting five now this year. Killian Hayes, Delon Wright, Mason Plumlee at center, Jeremy Grant, Blake Griffin, Derrick Rose coming off the bench, Zvi Mikuliak and Jahlil Okafor they brought in, and a lot of front court players I think they focused on. There's a lot of front court, but what do they have in their back court? Are they able to execute behind the front? We know they can rebound. We know they're going to be able to dunk. It's a different team than Andre Drummond era in Detroit. It's Blake Griffin's not Andre Drummond, and is he going to be weaker without him? Absolutely. But this really depends on Derrick Rose and Blake. This team, what they do this season is depending if they are selling their remaining players now. Are they going to trade Blake? Are they going to trade Derrick Rose? I really believe they should. I believe that they should get as much value back and draft picks that they're able to. This is not a championship caliber roster. It's going to take them a lot of time and a lot of pain in the season to improve. We're talking Derrick Rose is their most point scorer that they had a year ago. That is their top guy in points and even projected everything. Blake Griffin is not. Is he going to do better than Derrick Rose? Is he going to? And out of those two, who's going to stay healthier? Who's going to be on the court more than the other? And that's the other question with the Pistons that's difficult too, because if those are your top two players and they're both hurt regularly, you just don't have much to look at. You don't have much hope. So elsewhere, we'll look at the Golden State Warriors. No Klay Thompson again. That's another season that they're going to miss one of their Splash Brothers, one of their top three. And, we've seen Kevin Durant leave over a year ago. We've seen Steph Curry and Klay Thompson stay. But last year, it was, Klay Thompson was hurt. Thought they were getting him back. They're not. He's hurt again. Steph Curry. Can Steph do it by himself? No. The answer is absolutely no. As much as he can shoot the ball and what else he can do for this team and the anchor that he brings, he is not able to be the standpoint alone in helping this team get back to a finals. Their dynasty is done. They're going to win some games because they have a reasonable starting five. They do have a good starting five, and I really think they will have a decent season. But outside of when you don't have Kevin Durant anymore and you don't have Klay Thompson, you are not able to replace those players. You're not able to just go out on the street or even go out on the trade market. Is this a team that picks up James Harden? Would this be a wise fit? With cap, I don't even believe they can fit it. I don't believe they can take care of all of it with salary. But Stephen Curry, point guard. Andrew Wiggins, shooting guard or small forward. Draymond Green, power forward. James Wiseman, center. Kelly Oubre from Phoenix comes over to Golden State now. That's a good player. That's somebody that has a constant edge. He is a natural competitor. And you're talking right here. I mean, averages, we're looking at projected averages. 20.8 points per game for Steph Curry, 5.2 rebounds, 6.6 assists. Andrew Wiggins, 19.4 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, and 3.6 assists. Draymond Green, 8, 6, and 6. That will be better, though. Those numbers will be a lot better once he actually is fully healthy. I'm sure we'll be looking more to like 13 to 14 points a game and probably about 8 to 10 rebounds. James Wiseman, 19.7 points a game, 10.3 rebounds, 3 blocks. 3 blocks for Wiseman. That's a lot. And that would be one of the league leaders in blocks. And that's a category that's very important because that stops second chances. That gets teams transitioning into the defense. Kelly Oubre, 18.7 points a game, 6.4 rebounds, 1.5 assists. These are players that really, this makes a big difference. And their bench, I didn't even talk about their bench. Eric Paschall, Marquise Chris, and Kent Bazemore. They have some good players. It's just going to be about the health, and it's going to be about what Steve Kerr, head coach Steve Kerr, is able to do with this team, what they're able to figure out when they don't have their superstars. And that's just a very tough, terrible predicament to be in. You never want to be there. Let's look on to the Houston Rockets. This is a situation that is still very fluid right now. This is a situation that is not good if you're a Rockets fan or personnel with what's going on with your star, James Harden. He does not want to be there. He has no desire to stay there, no desire to play a minute more there. Russell Westbrook has left. We know Dwight Howard in the past was there, did not work out. Yao Ming, everybody thought the Rockets were going to have a championship at some point under him. They're Hall of Famer. Not going to happen. And then James Harden. Everybody thought the Rockets had a chance to win a championship with Chris Paul. Chris Paul's not there, we know. James Harden's the latest guy that will not be there. They did bring in John Wall from the Washington Wizards. They brought in a player that should still, coming off a long time, has not played since 2018, until the preseason here a few days ago. We've seen him get some games and some minutes logged, but is he going to be the same player? I do think he will. I think he'll be just as good. His talent cast, honestly, is about the same as what he had with the Wizards. But that'll change as soon as James Harden if and when James Harden gets traded. I do believe he will. I don't know when it's going to happen, though, but I believe it will come up soon. But right now, they're starting 5 with, if this is, I'll have to include Harden now just to be a professional, but you look at the starting 5, John Wall, point guard, James Harden, shooting guard, Eric Gordon, he's a shooting guard too. I mean, you can flip and flop Wall and Harden, figure out where they're going to go. Eric Gordon will be coming off the bench, but Christian Wood, PJ Tucker, DeMarcus Cousins, Ben McLemore, and Daniel House Jr. DeMarcus Boogie Cousins, when he is healthy and when he is ready to go and he's himself, all-star. Instant all-star, instant great player, very capable of averaging 16 and 10 a night, 20 and 10 even a night if he's healthy, if he gets all the minutes. Let's not forget what he did in Sacramento. Let's not forget he was the franchise player there. Ben McLemore knocked down at least 40% from three-point range in each of the last 2 seasons. What did he do with the Kings, too? This is another guy that can shoot threes. DeMarcus can shoot threes. Ben McLemore can shoot threes. Eric Gordon can shoot threes. John Wall. James Harden, we know. But Let's not forget too. If you trade James Harden, you're going to get back a really good player, at least 2 to 3 first round picks, and maybe another complimentary piece, just a throw on piece. But you're going to get a good trade for Harden if these actions that Harden's doing don't stop them from moving him for what he needs to be moved for. We know Harden can score 30 to 35 a night. How many games did he score 50 a year ago? The rebounds are 6 a game, 7 a game. Assists are 7 to 8 a game. John Wall, 20 points plus a night, 3 rebounds to 4 rebounds, 8 to 10 assists a night. Eric Gordon could come off the bench and put up 20 to 25. PJ Tucker is more of a compliment. But like I said, DeMarcus Cousins, it all depends on what he can do, and it depends what they get back for. It depends what they get back for James Harden when they trade him. They did lose Robert Covington and Russell Westbrook. It obviously took Russell Westbrook going to Washington to be able to get John Wall. So remains to be seen what's going to happen with this team. We will move on to the Indiana Pacers. Indiana is one of those teams every year that never has any real expectations. Nobody ever takes them that seriously. Nobody thinks they're going to do anything in the playoffs. They got rid of their head coach, Nate McMillan. Very perplexing, troubling move. I completely disagreed with it. Nate did a great job there and did not have Victor Oladipo. That's their best player. They did not have Oladipo last year. So why are you blaming the head coach? When you don't have your superstar and you're still in the playoffs, you're still a top 5, top 6 seed in the Eastern Conference, or even any conference, but the East, I know the West is always better. We know that, but still, this team could have been out of the playoffs without Victor Oladipo. Let's look at most teams and take away one of their superstars. Look at the dramatic effect that it has. I don't even need to give examples. I know I talked about the Warriors, but if think about the Lakers without LeBron, think about the Lakers without Anthony Davis. Think about the Milwaukee Bucks without Giannis. A lot of trouble, a lot of games that you will not be able to make up because you missed those players. But the Pacers starting 5. Malcolm Brogdon, Victor Oladipo. That's your backcourt. Point guard, shooting guard. T.J. Warren, small forward. Miles Turner, center. Domantas Sabonis, power forward. It's one of the best starting 5 guys teams that I've named. If all these players fulfill and pan out, Miles Turner, if he grows and gets better, Victor Oladipo, if he comes back fully healthy, Malcolm Brogdon, we know he can do it all. He could score 16 to 20 a night. He can pass the ball around 7 to 10 assists a night. Rebounds, he could throw 5 or 6 up. Victor Oladipo can score 20 to 25 a night. Same with the assists and the rebounds. Miles Turner, he can get 10 to 15 rebounds a night. He could even put up to 13 to 20 points a night. Sabonis was the trade piece for Paul George. He was just a throw-in player. Nobody had any idea what he was going to do. He was an all-star last year. He was incredible. And T.J. Warren, remember what he did with Phoenix? How good he was, 25 to 28 points a night. The rebounds, assists were there. Defense is a big key. Defense, the team's best defender potentially could be actually Malcolm Brogdon because he's just so edgy. He's so on you, like he's on the ball. Whoever has it, he'll just run anywhere. But we saw what Brogdon did with the Bucks. The Bucks were upset that he left for Indiana, especially at being in the division in the Central. But with the bench too, Justin Holiday, Aaron Holiday, Doug McDermott, tons of 3-point percentage, 35 to 43% 3-point made percentage coming off the bench. You got to worry about this team's backcourt. You can't let them get going. If they do, you're done. It's all about what this team can do with Warren and Sabonis, and I believe Sabonis will get even better. And as Miles Turner, we saw him take a step back. And I think that can't happen for this team if they're going to reach their full potential. It's just they're not able to get to where they need to go if they don't have those other guys playing the way that they're supposed to. The new head coach, we're going to see exactly how it goes. I do expect a good season from the Pacers, though. Next team to talk about, time to get to L.A., the Clippers, the Los Angeles Clippers. I started with the intro talking about Tyronn Lue, talking about, no more Doc Rivers, the disagreements he had with Paul George, the trouble, just the overall trouble that's just going everywhere. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. And they did lose their 6th man of the year, Harrell. They lost him. But they brought in Serge Ibaka, okay? Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Ivica Zubac, Serge Ibaka, Pat Beverly, Luke Kennard, Marcus Morris, Lou Williams. Depth starting superstars, everything. Chemistry is there. Can they close out games that they have big leads? That is the question about the Clippers. Are they able to close teams out when they have multi-point leads, double-digit point leads? Are they able to get the job done, not falter? That's their team. That's the breaking the ankles of this team. Will they be able to take care of business? Kawhi Leonard, we know he can put up 30 a night. Paul George can put up 30 a night. Rebounds and assists, 6 to 8 apiece each. Rebounds. Zubac, Serge Ibaka can put up 15 and 5. Pat Beverly, he does it all. He's very smaller numbers, but he does it all. Lou Williams always is usually the sixth man of the word winner in the West. Always puts up about 18 to 22 points a night. Gets you about 4 rebounds. It gets you at least 5-6 assists a night. The Morris, the Morris brothers, Marcus Morris there. This is a really good team. I think they will have a great season. It's just remaining to be seen what's necessarily going to happen when they have leads late in the season and in playoff series. You cannot lose those leads if you plan on beating the Lakers or you plan on beating the team that comes out of the East. Which brings us to the Lakers, the Los Angeles Lakers, the champions. I believe, can they win it again? For sure. They did lose Dwight Howard. They did lose Rajon Rondo. They still have Frank Vogel. They still have Jason Kidd. Everybody else is pretty much coming back. Rob Pelinka is always in attack mode in the front office, always wants to make this team better. They brought in Marc Gasol. They brought in Dennis Schroeder. I love the Dennis Schroeder ad. I think he's going to bring a lot to this team, in the backcourt as well. But he drives his ball. He's a guy that has no fear in going inside. He's able to disrupt a defense. And if you're able to disrupt a defense, you're able to pass the ball outside to the wings. You're able to move the ball a lot better than he moves the ball more, I believe, inside than Rondo would inside. Rondo's not going to go inside. He's going to pass the ball. He's going to facilitate it from up top. Schroeder is somebody that not only will pass the ball from within an attack, but he'll score on his own. He has no problem shooting. He will take care of plays where LeBron or AD maybe don't have to be the 100% focal point of. But you're starting 5. LeBron James, best player in the league, 25, 7 rebounds, 10 assists. Those are given numbers. Anthony Davis, 26 to 30 a night, 10 rebounds to 15 rebounds. Can even hit 20 rebounds sometimes. 2 to 4 blocks a night, given. Dennis Schroeder, 18 to 22 a night, 3 rebounds, 4 assists a game. Caldwell Pope, Marc Gasol, Montrezl Harrell, the 6th man of the year with the Clippers last year, 18 to 20 a night, you think. 7 rebounds, a few assists a game, a block or 2. Kyle Kuzma still there, Wesley Matthews. It's all about the starting 5. The bench, the bench coming in, doing their thing, like similarity to what they did last year and in the bubble. It's all about LeBron. It's all about AD. It was great to get Schroeder. It was good to get Harrell. Those are just more compliments to each other. And I believe that the Lakers will be just about the same as we're used to seeing them at this point, especially from what they did. They want to win again. LeBron wants to keep winning championships. Anthony Davis signed a 5-year max contract extension. He wants to keep winning championships. So it's going to be fun to watch this team continuously get better and grow because they want to. They want to improve. So the next team to look at, why don't we, is the Memphis Grizzlies. We saw what they did last year. We saw them get into the playoffs. We saw them have a little bit of an extended season. We saw Ja Morant be the second pick overall behind Zion Williamson. And he sure impressed. I mean, he was incredible for a team that nobody really paid much attention to. But now the Grizzlies are kind of that team where, okay, they can make some noise in the West. Have they eclipsed a team like the Spurs? Have they eclipsed a team like Phoenix? They're starting, Ja Morant, point guard, 17, 20 points a night, 3-4 rebounds a game, 7 to 10 assists, maybe closer to 9, but Dylan Brooks behind him, Kyle Anderson, Jaren Jackson Jr. In the front court, Jonas Valanciunas from Toronto, the longtime center there. He's been there in Memphis now for over a season. No more Joakim Noah for the depth or backup, but DeAnthony Melton on the bench, Justice Winslow, longtime Miami Heat player. Well, maybe not longtime, but veteran Miami Heat player, and Brandon Clark named first team on All Rookie last year. This Grizzlies team is young, They're going to have all the minutes in the world to improve and get better. And I think it'll be a good season for them. I think they'll improve. I don't know if they're going to win a playoff series, but I do think that they'll just keep getting better. It's just a fun time to be a Grizzlies fan. You're a team that didn't have much hope before now has a lot to look forward to. And I think that's really all that you can ask for. I mean, all you're able to ask for is, how did we get better? Do we threaten more teams? They do. So that brings us to, speaking of threaten, that brings us to the Miami Heat. What this team did and what they accomplished, not only in the regular season, but being a 5 seed in the East and getting all the way to the NBA Finals, finding a way to get there, put the Lakers on the ropes. If they were healthy, if Bam and Dragic and Butler were not worn out, I really believe the Heat were going to win that series. I believe they win the series in 7 games. All that firepower and rotation and Eric Spoelstra's great mind as a head coach, Pat Riley, those are guys that know what it takes to win championships, and they've done it before. Done it multiple times. This would have been a phenomenal close to already a wonderful story in regards to what they were able to do. But looking forward to them now. They drafted Jordan Aurora, 45th overall, Sam Merrill, 60th. They had way backed up draft picks. You know, players like that aren't going to do as much for you or anything. But you know, I really just, I look at this Miami Heat team. I'm sorry, those draft picks for the Bucks. That's the next team, the Milwaukee Bucks. That was, you know, if you're drafting outside the top 10, those players really aren't going to be big names on your starting lineup or in your coming off the bench, unless you just throw them the keys or they show you something in training camp that gets you there. But no, the Heat added Precious Achiuwa, 20th overall. That was their draft pick. A little bit better than, you know, the longer range there, but it's all about health for this team. It's all about how many minutes is Goran Dragic going to play. Is he going to keep being a good complement with the rest of the team? Jimmy Butler, is he going to take another step into becoming more of an elite superstar? Bam Adebayo. Bam was potentially their best player last year. He had, you know, we're looking for him to average 15, 10, and 5 a night. We're looking for Butler to get 20 to 25, 6 rebounds a game, and, you know, 6 assists a night. We're looking for Butler to do that constantly while playing about 36 to 40 minutes a game. That's what we're expecting from him. Duncan Robinson, Maurice Harkless, Tyler Hero, Avery Bradley, Andre Iguodala, Kendrick Nunn. That bench is maybe the best bench in the whole league. You got all these players, and I know it's a lot of backcourt. It's all backcourt. So front court's this team's weakness for sure. They don't have Hassan Whiteside anymore, but they got Bam. Outside of Bam, you know, they need some help. I think, you know, they need another. They would need that other big guy, but you can find that through a trade, or you can find that. You know, somebody decides to become available, or a team makes someone available. You can pick that up, but they should be right there in the East. They know what it's like to lose the finals now. They know what it's like to get there and come up just a bit short, even though they had no expectation to be there. So it's going to be exciting to see how they respond this time around. Which brings us to the Milwaukee Bucks, and the number 1 team in the league, number 1 team in the East. Giannis Antetokounmpo has just signed the Supermax extension for 5 years, over $220 million. They traded for Drew Holiday. They got Brook Lopez back. They brought in Bobby Portis. DJ Augustine is there. Chris Middleton returns. They did lose Robin Lopez. They lost him, former Knick and former Bull, for more center depth. But I like where this team is. I like where they're looking right now. And Drew Holiday, they traded a lot. They traded too much, in my opinion, for Drew Holiday. But he can get you 20 a night, easy, 4 or 5 rebounds a game, 6 to 7 assists. Dante DiVincenzo, Brook Lopez, we know what he can do down low. Chris Middleton, good shooter. He's a good player, but can he turn into a star? He's a great player, but can he make that leap? He has to make that leap if the Bucks are going to start winning playoff series. We know he can put up 20. We know he can put up 6 rebounds. We know he can put up 5, 6 assists. Giannis, we know he's the MVP. He's won it twice now. 30 a night, absolutely. 15 rebounds, absolutely. 5 to 6 assists, 3 blocks, you bet. This is Giannis. This is who he is. Bobby Portis, DJ Augustine, Torrey Craig. These are all players to complement one another. Mike Budenholzer and his coaching staff there in Milwaukee must be quite happy that they not only kept Giannis. This is not about the sprint anymore. They thought it was. These were knee-jerk reactions for the 2021 season, but Giannis has made it clear that he's in for this team, and I find that to be fascinating, especially in the small market. Giannis knows Milwaukee. He knows what it's like there. It's home. It's his home, other than Greece. So this is just a great thing. They did lose Eric Bledsoe. That will sting a bit, but I think they'll be just fine with Holiday. And that brings us to let's look at the Minnesota Timberwolves. Why don't we next? And they got Anthony Edwards. This is the team that had the first overall pick, Anthony Edwards. And then their next pick wasn't until 23 and 28. 23, Angelo Bolmero, and 28, Jaden McDaniels. Ricky Rubio is no longer there, but what's realistic for the Timberwolves? I kind of like what I said about the Hornets back earlier in this episode. They still have D'Angelo Russell there. Ricky Rubio. This team, no more Ricky Rubio. So I mean, where are they going to? How are they going to be able to get to the next part? What are they able to? It's all about Edwards and his development. It's all about Karl Anthony Towns. Is he going to stay there? Is he going to be a player that re-signs it? Or are we going to have a similar situation that we had with Giannis? Are we going to have a situation with Paul George in Indiana where he wanted to leave and go to LA? Is Karl Anthony Towns invested in the Timberwolves? And are the Timberwolves fully invested in him? I believe they are in D'Angelo Russell. But, you think about talent. Russell and Towns each could score 25 points, 30 points a night. 10 rebounds for sure, at least a game, 10 to 20 from Towns. Russell 3 to 4, not as many as small guy. 6 assists for him, but it's Anthony Towns. He's a great passer. He is somebody that can get a lot of assists too. But Malik Beasley, Josh Ogie, Jared Culver, this is a rebuild. This is a middle of a rebuild. It's about keeping guys there. It's about keeping players there that you want there for the long term. So build off Edwards, build off Russell, build off Towns. That's your big three. See where you can get to after that, and we'll go from there. But yeah, Ricky Rubio is a great passer, somebody that can open up a lot of players on the court, and it's funny because he's always that player that's traded. He's always that guy that seems to get shipped out of town, or somebody just doesn't really believe in his full ability. But we'll talk about the New Orleans Pelicans next, and we saw kind of like a little bit of a Grizzlies talk here. They had their fun with Zion Williamson. From what they saw, we saw the stud and superstar that he is. We saw 25 a night. We saw 6 to 10 rebounds. We saw glass break, slam dunks. We saw him do everything. We saw this was his team. This was his team and his group with Lonzo Ball, Eric Bledsoe now there. Brandon Ingram emerged. I bet the Lakers, if he would have been like this at the Lakers, I don't know if he gets traded. 24 a night, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Steven Adams, longtime Oklahoma City Thunder, 10 rebounds, 10 points, pretty much what he gives you in a block or two a game. Their bench, Kyra Lewis Jr., Josh Hart, and J.J. Redick still there. Stan Van Gundy is back. He is a head coach for this team. He's going to focus on three-point shooting. He's going to focus on maximizing his potential for all these players. I do like the group. I really do like the group. I think they're going to make a lot of noise. It just remains to be seen, where do they really match up with the rest of the West? Where are they able to go and throw a team off? Where are they able to match up and take down somebody else? That's what we got to see. New York Knicks, one of my favorites all time. Thibodeau is now the head coach there. It didn't work as well in Minnesota as he had planned, but you know what? The Knicks, this is going to be a painful year. This is going to be a team that my boy Thibodeau cannot fix right now, and might not even be able to fix for at least 2 or 3 years. They have to start getting a free agent, a max free agent. They got to start convincing big name players to come here. Alfred Payton, Alec Burks, RJ Barrett's he's a good young player. Julius Randle, good young player. It's all about Randle and Barrett for this team. Payton's going to pass the ball, not really big numbers. Alec Burks, mid-range numbers. Barrett and Randle can be your 15 to 20 a night. They can be your big rebounder, and Randle, Reggie Bullock, Austin Rivers on the bench, Mitchell Robinson, Obi Toppin could be a favorite for the rookie of the year. I put him really close to being there. He can be your 20-point. He could become your best player out of Dayton. he can get you 10 rebounds a night. He can get you 2 to 4 assists a night. It's just, and he will get the minutes. Thibodeau will make sure this team plays through him, but you're just looking at an overall competitive point. It's just not going to go well for the Knicks. And another team that's really not going to go well for is the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's going to get good, but not for at least 2 to 3 years. With all the first round, I believe they have about, it's like 17 to 18 first round draft picks now. Sam Presti is a phenomenal executive. He knows how to get what he wants, but their starting five is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That could be their best player right there. That could be your only 20-point scorer a night. Actually, I believe that will be their only 20 a night if they even do average that. Luken Stort, Trevor Ariza, is he going to stay there? Is he going to get traded again? I'm sure he'll get traded. Darius Baisley, Al Horford. Al Horford will get traded eventually. George Hill, he'll get traded eventually to a contender. Mike Muscala, Hamidou Diallo. This team is just, it's going to be a breather. It's going to take, like the Knicks have some more bright spots than this. And that's saying a lot because those should be the two bottom teams in the NBA by a comfortable, wide margin. Let's bring some Magic into the picture. Orlando Magic. We've seen him flirt back and forth with the playoffs. We saw Steve Clifford go there from Charlotte, and he's doing a much better job in Orlando than he did with the Hornets. Markelle Fultz is a nice young piece, young player. Evan Fournier, James Ennis, Nikola Vucevic, Aaron Gordon. Their bench, Michael Carter-Williams comes back. Terrence Ross returns. Cole Anthony, Dwayne Bacon. The Magic are that fringe last 8 seed team in the East. Are they able to get in there? Vucevic is their franchise player. I'm so happy they have not traded him all these years. He is easy 20-10 and 4 blocks, 3-4 blocks a night when he's on his best. Aaron Gordon, we know he can slam dunk. We know he could be the best dunker in the whole league. He is very capable, 15 a night, 8 to 10 rebounds, few assists a night. Evan Fournier can put up 18 to 21. Fultz can give you 10 to 15. Good young players. And this is just more of a situation of let them go, let them get out there, stay healthy. That's every team's thing, but a lot, the Magic, it's a lot of backcourt. It's all about the backcourt. Front court, we know with Vooch, but who else is it going to be besides Vooch or besides Aaron Gordon? Are we going to see Mo Bamba? Are we going to see Mo Bamba get some playing time, significant minutes? He really didn't. There was a big rumor that they were going to trade Vucevic just to open up Mo. But if you do that, I personally believe you're taking Mo, his production and protection away, because then everybody knows to just double him up and he's in a lot of trouble. A new look team here for the Philadelphia 76ers. Doc Rivers comes over from the Clippers as head coach. Daryl Morey comes as the GM and president, their front office. Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Danny Green, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, Dwight Howard, Shake Milton, Mike Scott, Matthias Thybulle. I am intrigued by this team. And like I said, Tobias Harris. We know what Tobias Harris did with the Clippers. We know what Ben Simmons is able to do. Ben Simmons is a great player, but his shooting has to improve. If his shooting doesn't get better, this team's not really going anywhere. Danny Green, we know what he's been able to do. We know what he can't do as well. We know the consistency is not always there, but he can shoot a 3. Seth Curry can shoot a 3. Tobias Harris as well. You're talking about 40 to 45% from the 3 line with Curry alone and even Danny Green. They're not going to give you big numbers, though. They're more mixed players. Joel Embiid. This team is all about Joel Embiid. He's a clear superstar, 25 to 30 a night, 11 to 20 rebounds a game, 3 to 5 blocks, 3 to 5 assists. This is a great situation to be in. Will they trade for James Harden? Who would they give up for James Harden? That's a big question. If they get James Harden, will it work? Remains to be seen. I don't know. It's tough to say with Harden because we've seen the superstars get paired in Houston before and it just did not work. So if it doesn't now, are you comfortable? And I don't know if that's going to be the case with the Sixers, but that's a damn good team and they're going to make quite a bit of noise in the Eastern Conference. Brings us to the Phoenix Suns, another team that went 8-0 in the bubble in Orlando. Everybody wanted to see this team in the playoffs. We know Devin Booker, and we know Chris Paul's got traded there now. DeAndre Ayton, Cam Johnson, Dario Saric, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, Cameron Payne. Well, Cameron Payne's nothing really great, but it's all about the starting 5, though. We know the Suns are depth short. We know that they have a good starting 5 now, but it's not all the way there. Sarek and Johnson are going to be the weaknesses on this team in the rotation minute slot. Chris Paul, if he stays healthy with Booker and Ayton, it's going to be a fun team to talk about. This is going to be like when the Clippers first had gotten Paul, with Blake Griffin and Chris Paul. This is a very similar situation with the Suns. This team can turn into that. I do think they're at least a year away. This is a team that terribly needs a great free agent, a superstar free agent. They need a max. They need to be able to bring in somebody with Chris Paul while he can still be a star of his own and be on the court. Devin Booker's only going to get better. Chris Paul potentially had his best season of his career last year. So you bring that, that's going to be 15 to 20 a night, many assists a game. Devin Booker is going to put up 25 to 30 a night, maybe more. He's had games where he can put up 40, 50. Assists and rebounds will be there. DeAndre Ayton, the suspension didn't help at first, but he's back. He's ready. He's fully on go. I expect big numbers from him. This is a top draft pick. This is a crawling 20 points and 15 rebounds and 3 to 4 blocks a night. Just an exciting team. And you add somebody like Jay Crowder there, a true veteran who's mixed around and been there. It's just a good situation, a fluent situation for the Suns, something they haven't been used to since the Mike D'Antoni days with Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire. And shout out to Steve Nash, by the way, he's also the head coach of the Nets. But it's going to be fun to watch this team. It's been a long time since we've been able to say that about them. Another fun team, and this is a team that could be the top of the West, is the Portland Trailblazers. Dame Lillard, C.J. McCollum, Derrick Jones Jr. coming over from Miami, Robert Covington, Jusuf Nurkic, who was not healthy at all last year. He is back. Gary Trent Jr., Carmelo Anthony is returning, Enes Kanter. Front court and back court, okay? They got both. They have Terry Stotts at head coach. They have an intriguing group, a serious threat to the Bucks, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Nuggets. Serious threat. Will it all come together? Will Carmelo Anthony be able to come off the bench still and put up the 15 to 20 a night? Will Enes Kanter be able to stay with a team for a full season and get 8 to 10 points a night, 10 rebounds? Will he be able to contribute? Will Covington take a next step? I don't know if Covington will, because we've seen him before with the Sixers and Houston. We've seen Covington. I don't know if he can get much better than what he's already done, but I do think Nurkic can get better. I believe 17 to 20 a night, 10 to 14 rebounds, three blocks. That's manageable for him. Do I have to say anything about Lillard and McCollum? We know, Splash Brothers 2.0 from Golden State. Exciting guys that feed off one another, that never complain, want to be in Portland long term. We know the extensions are already in place and active and going. Derrick Jones Jr. brought a lot of explosiveness in Miami. That's a great situation there, too, for some athleticism. But three-point shooting, high scoring, passing the ball around, a great scenario for Portland, and I really do believe the results will show. I don't know if they're going to be holding up a trophy this year, but it will be coming soon if and when they do. Let's move on to the Sacramento Kings, and this team is another team that's knocking on the door. De'Aaron Fox and Bagley at center. This is a team that could, they can shoot the three ball. They can score. They're fast. They're a young team. They're starting five. De'Aaron Fox, point guard. That's 20 points a night, 5 rebounds, and, multiple assists. Buddy Hield, tons of three-pointers, maybe one of the best in the game at that position and at that game plan. Easily 40 to 45% from the field. Marvin Bagley, 3, can he stay healthy? If he does, he's a walking double-double a night. Harrison Barnes, great if he starts and great if he comes off the bench. He's just an ultimate pro. Their bench, Hassan Whiteside, that's a big key right there. That's a huge piece. And Portland had Whiteside, but Nurkic being back, this made Whiteside available. That's a double-double a night if he chooses to be. If he gets mad at NBA 2K again for putting him at a 50 rating, I think we could see a lot from him too. Tyrese Halliburton, Nemanja Bjelica, they got some shooting. They got some players. They got some potential. And if you're a team this young, all you can ask for is potential. Halliburton was the 12th overall pick, and you took away Whiteside from Portland. That's one of your close rivals right there, and just up north there in the next state over. Is a really good situation for them. So let's see how it all plays out. And I know my board you can see is this whole video. You've been able to go right along with the teams, but that'll be the last thing I do. Let's look at only a few more teams though left. San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs that we know are not what the Spurs are anymore, and they're just too old now. They've lost that edge. They've lost their Tim Duncan. They've lost their Tony Parker. They've lost their Manu Ginobili. They don't have it anymore. It's okay. They did a phenomenal job. It's like the Detroit Red Wings of the NBA. Like they are, 15 to 20 years straight in the playoffs, championships, notoriety, fame, popularity. They've done it all. All right, legends. They've done everything they've needed to do. Their starting five is DeJounte Murray, Derek White, DeMar DeRozan, great player, but is limited in certain aspects. LaMarcus Aldridge, Jacob Petley, their bench, Rudy Gay, Lonnie Walker, Patty Mills. Those are the standout names there. This is going to be a struggling team. LaMarcus Aldridge I still think he's their best player. I put him over DeRozan. I think Aldridge, his averages are down from what they usually are from the double doubles and stuff, the high double doubles, but he's just he's everything you'd want. He is everything you'd want. He's a Hall of Famer when he retires. It's going to be tough for Greg Popovich and this team to get anything going. Will this be Greg Popovich's last season coaching an NBA team? Very reasonable question to ask. Next team is the Toronto Raptors. They were just fine without Kawhi Leonard. They were equally as competitive. They were right there in the playoffs. They did get they lost their series, but it was close. And I mean, they're bringing back pretty much their whole team. What we saw, Kyle Lowry's returning, the point guard. We know all the assists that he does, the points he can give. Fred VanVleet, we know what he can do in a starting lineup. OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, one of the best young players in the game, continuously getting better. Aaron Baines, Chris Boucher, Patrick McCaw, Norman Powell. Their bench is a bit weak, but great team in the East. They will be very competitive again, and I think this team has a lot to play for. We will see them continuously improve. Are they going to be in a big enough market, though, to be able to get another big player like Kawhi? Probably not. That would be their main drawback from being able to do anything serious or significant in trying to get another championship there. Utah Jazz. Physical. Small to medium market. We know what the Jazz are. We know what the Jazz are always able to do. Familiarity. They love building their chemistry. They love keeping guys on this team. And that's one of the only teams that really usually does always bring back most of their team. We know the names and we know the faces that are here. Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Royce O'Neal, Rudy Gobert, Jordan Clarkson, Joe Ingles, Derek Favors. The numbers weren't as good. The averages weren't as good for Ingles and Favors. They did take steps back. That has to get better if they're going to be a top 5 team in the West, even top 6. Jordan Clarkson off the bench. That's a nice piece right there. Helps with the scoring, but what else would he help with? Is he able to really make an impact on the defensive side or anything else? Mike Conley definitely has to stay healthy. We need to see what he did with Memphis. Donovan Mitchell, superstar, like Damian Lillard early in his career. Only somebody that can get better. That's what I think Mitchell could do. He could be a potential MVP. Bogdanovic, we know what he can do. He's a big forward. He's fearless. He's not afraid of anybody or anything. That's 20 to 25 a night. It could be in multiple rebounds, assists, and tough defense late in the game. O'Neal, that's their weakest starter. Gobert, defensive player of the year, all-star, pretty much done it all. Gotten every rebound, gotten every point scored. Just is missing a ring and really missing an MVP. Other than that, the Jazz are going to be a good team, and I'm very excited to watch them as well. And last but not least, folks, is the Washington Wizards. This is all 30 teams. This has been a lot of fun. I hope that you've enjoyed everything thus far. The starting 5, Bradley Beal is now with Russell Westbrook instead of John Wall being with Bradley Beal. Thomas Bryant, Rui Hachimura, Isaac Bonga, their bench, Ish Smith, Davis Bertans, the big 3-point center, Troy Brown Jr. and Moritz Wagner, another big guy that can shoot threes. The Wizards have 2 of them, Wagner and Bertans. You'd think they'd trade one of them to get other areas more front court, more backcourt. That is, their front court's pretty well in depth, but it's gonna be a tough year for them too, just because of everybody that's in front of them in the East. And Who knows how happy Bradley Beal is going to be? Who knows if he's going to want to stay there after he voiced for John Wall to stay? He wanted his buddy to stay. Is he going to be able to produce with Russell Westbrook? Is he going to be inclined to play with Russell Westbrook? We have to. This is all going to be developing as the season goes, but intriguing team if everything goes right, sure. But it's going to be hard to just see everything go right. But last but not least of the video, my good friends, is the board. So this puts me at the Milwaukee Bucks, top seed in the East, 56 and 16. The 2 seed Miami Heat, 51 and 21. Brooklyn Nets, 3, 50 and 22 record. 4 seed Philadelphia 76ers, 47 and 25. Next, the Boston Celtics at 5, 45 and 27. 6 seed Indiana Pacers, 44 and 28. 7 seed Toronto Raptors, 42 and 30. And the 8 seed, the Atlanta Hawks, 39 and 33. The Bulls, 9, 36 and 36. Orlando Magic, 10 seed, 32 and 40. Next, the Washington Wizards, 31 and 41. Detroit Pistons follow them at 12, 28 and 44. 13 seed Charlotte Hornets, 24 and 48. 14 seed Cleveland Cavaliers, 19 and 53. And the 15th seed, the New York Knicks, 15 and 57. Over to the Western Conference, the Los Angeles Lakers, top seed, 54 and 18. Los Angeles Clippers, 2 seed, 52 and 20. 3 seed Denver Nuggets, 49 and 23. 4 seed Portland Trailblazers, 46 and 26. 5 seed Dallas Mavericks at 44 and 28. 6 seed Golden State Warriors at 41 and 31. 7 seed Utah Jazz, 40 and 32. 8 seed Phoenix Suns, 38 and 34. 9 seed New Orleans Pelicans, 35 and 37. 10 seed the Houston Rockets, 34 and 38. 11 seed Memphis Grizzlies, 32 and 40. 12 seed San Antonio Spurs, 30 and 42. Sacramento Kings, 29 and 43 at 13. Minnesota Timberwolves, 14 seed, 22 and 50. And last but not least, 15 seed Oklahoma City Thunder, 17 and 59. Awards: Most Valuable Player, Damian Lillard with the Trailblazers. Defensive Player of the Year, Jimmy Butler with the Miami Heat. Most Improved Player, Zach LaVine with the Chicago Bulls. Rookie of the Year, Obi Toppin with the New York Knicks. Coach of the Year, Steve Nash with the Brooklyn Nets. Executive of the Year, Daryl Morey with the 76ers. Sixth Man of the Year, Tyler Herro with the Miami Heat. Teammate of the Year, Chris Paul, the Phoenix Suns. Playoff bracket, the last thing that I have here for everybody. I'll just hold this right here. If you can see it all right here. First round quarterfinals in the East, the Milwaukee Bucks and Atlanta Hawks matchup. I'll take the Bucks. The Miami Heat, 2 seed versus the 7 seed Raptors. I'll take the Heat winning that series. The 3 seed versus 6 seed Nets Pacers. I'll go with the Nets. 76ers, 4 seed Celtics, 5 seed. I will go with the 76ers to win that series, which brings us to the next two here. Milwaukee Bucks versus 76ers. I will take the Bucks to win that series, and the Miami Heat versus the Brooklyn Nets. I will take the 3 seed, my Brooklyn Nets in that one, which brings us to the Eastern Conference Finals. Milwaukee Bucks versus Brooklyn Nets. I will take the Brooklyn Nets in that upset, 3 seed over 1 seed, which puts the Nets in the finals. Over to the West, first seed Los Angeles Lakers versus 8 seed Phoenix Suns. I will take the Los Angeles Lakers in that series in the quarterfinals. 2 seed for 7 seed Clippers and Jazz. I will take the Los Angeles Clippers over Utah. 3 seed Nuggets versus Golden State Warriors. I will take the Denver Nuggets in that series. And then that last series, 4 seed versus 5 seed Portland Trailblazers and Dallas Mavericks. I will take Portland to win that series. Moves us on to the semifinals and more. The Los Angeles Lakers versus Portland Trailblazers. I will take the Lakers in this series. And the Los Angeles Clippers versus the Denver Nuggets. I will take the Clippers this time around. Which brings us to the Western Conference Finals and showdown of the Staples Center teams that they call home and make home. Lakers versus Clippers. I will take the Lakers in this series. Which brings us to a Nets-Lakers Finals. I don't think the Nets are just there yet with KD, but this could change in the 2021-2022 season. I will take the Los Angeles Lakers while they have everybody on this team right now to win this year's finals. And that is my video, everybody. That is my 2020-2021 NBA playoff preview. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. This is coming from Bobby Knapp, Big Hurt Knapp 35 on Twitter, and Big Hurt Knapp 35 on Instagram. Thank you all so much for listening. Merry Christmas. Like and share and subscribe. Take care, everybody.